welcome to all of you. This is kind of a revolutionary event for us. It's our first in-person meeting in over 2 years of the Aspen Security Forum, so welcome everybody. Very pleased to have everybody here. I want to welcome especially the Ambassador of Ireland, Ambassador Dan Mulhall, who's here today. Pleasure to see him. Follow him on Twitter and learn a lot about Ireland and Irish poetry as well. Just a few words from me before we begin and before we welcome General Mark Milley, the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff with Lester Holt. I want to thank everybody for being here because we're meeting at a really consequential time for the United States. And if you just look at the trip that President Biden took, and he came back after midnight last night and saw what he had to do with other world leaders at the G20 summit in Rome, at the COP26 climate summit in Glasgow in Scotland, we're dealing with the specter of climate change and the need for the entire world, 7 billion people, 195 nation states, to come together not just this year, but every year for the next 10 to 15 years to arrest the movement of climate change. We're obviously having difficulty globally in returning to global economic growth because of the ravages of the coronavirus on the global economy, particularly in the developing world. We've seen that, and the president had to deal with that. The fact that 5 million people have now died from COVID-19 over the last year and a half. That number is probably higher if you really think about the impact of COVID in the world today. The fact that many of us have been fully vaccinated, but billions of people living in lower income countries have not had access to vaccines. And so that issue obviously animated the discussions in Rome and at Glasgow. The full range of cyber threats to our economy, to our national security establishment, cyber criminals and cyber terrorists. We'll hear more about that. And obviously from an American perspective, the rise in power and self-confidence of China, the People's Republic of China, of the Russian Federation, of other anti-democratic forces around the world, and President Biden obviously has made it a signature issue for his administration to unite the democratic world and unite our allies and partners in common cause. For those of us in national security, the irony is that for the United States to face these problems, we have to begin at home. We have to begin by rebuilding our economy, our infrastructure, rebuilding a sense of purpose and unity with both political parties in Washington. And it really does begin here at home, and we hope that's the purpose of the Aspen Security Forum, to bring you all here to hear from a variety of speakers from our national security establishment and beyond about these problems. And we certainly need bipartisanship. The hallmark of our group, the Aspen Strategy Group, for 37 years now, has been we're not bipartisan, we're nonpartisan. And when we enter these doors as Republicans or Democrats or independents, we think about our country first and the need for our country to come together. And frankly, I'm a little bit optimistic here. We all know, and you watched television last night and saw the results from Virginia and New Jersey and elsewhere, we know we're badly divided here at home, and we've got to fix that. But I do think, and I know our co-chairs, Condoleezza Rice and Joe Nye, our director, Anja, Manuel, and I all agree that there is common cause on national security issues between our two parties, and I think you'll hear about that, but that's the mission of this group. It's kind of a radical idea that you bring Republicans and Democrats together, but that's what we've been doing for 3 decades, and we'll continue to do that as well. Today's program is charged. We're going to begin with the leader of our armed forces in the U.S. military, General Mark Milley, Chairman Milley of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. I just want to say he's a Boston guy. He and I are both from Boston, so that means Red Sox, Bruins, Celtics, Patriots, and Nation. So thank you, Chairman Milley. We'll hear from General Paul Nakasone, who directs our Cyber Command and, of course, is director of the National Security Agency. We're going to have a big discussion about global vaccines with Gail Smith from the State Department. We'll hear from our co-chair and my longtime friend and my former boss, former Secretary of State Condoleezza Rice, at noon today about the health of our democracy at home and what we need to do overseas. Representative Adam Schiff will be here, Senator Jack Reed. It's a full day. I want to thank you for being with us, and I want to introduce my friend and director, Anja, Manuel. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you all. Good morning. Thank you for coming here. It's such a pleasure to see people in real life. So thank you for being with us today. I just want to have a moment to think about a great man we lost recently, and that's General Powell. He was one of the giants in our profession. We've lost a lot of that generation recently. George Shultz in the spring, General Scowcroft, who's our founder of the Aspen Strategy Group, last summer. You know, these folks were giants in their profession. But what they always said, they put country above party. And they said, I heard General Scowcroft say it several times, you know, the responsibility is on all of us. This isn't a few giants who are out there in the field. The responsibility is on all of us in this room, people who are members of the military, who are out there on the front lines, keeping us safe every day, members of the administration, people in our legislature, and all of us here in this room who are journalists, scholars, to keep this country safe and peaceful. So that's one of the things that we are trying to do here at the Aspen Security Forum, to teach in a nonpartisan and bipartisan way what's going on in foreign policy, to help all of us understand better the big issues that face our country and jointly help resolve them. And none of this would be possible without all of the sponsors who have made this great event, in-person event, absolutely possible, and I'll just name them. MasterCard has been very generous, McKinsey, Microsoft, the MITRE Corporation, Raytheon, Rockefeller Foundation, Rebellion AI, HDA, Intel, Pharma, WhatsApp, American Airlines, and Capgemini. So let's give them a round of applause. And now, without further ado, could I ask Chairman Mark Milley and Lester Holt to join me on the stage? They need very little introduction. Please, you can take your seats. General Milley is the 20th chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, of course, the nation's highest ranking military officer and the principal military advisor to the president. Previously, he served as Chief of Staff of the U.S. Army. He commanded many battalions, brigades, including the 101st Airborne Division, amongst others, and he, of course, served all over the world, including with ISAF in Afghanistan. Lester Holt is the anchor and managing editor of NBC Nightly News and an award-winning journalist. We cannot imagine anyone better to interview General Milley. Thank you to both of you.